One of the biggest difference makers for the Chicago Bears this week will be the return of two injured starters who weren't available for either of the previous two games against the Green Bay Packers.
You are Locked On Bears, your daily Chicago Bears podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Bears, and I'm your host, Lauren Cox. I'm here to bring you your daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. Thanks for making the Locked On Bears podcast your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wildcard round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your Profit Boost pack every NFL playoff game day. On the show today, we're going to go through the injury reports for both teams, but namely the return of wide receiver Rome Odunze and the impact that could have on the Chicago Bears offense, along with slot cornerback Kyler Gordon, who might be the biggest change and biggest reinforcement the Bears have had maybe all season, or at least in quite some time. He's going to be critical to beating the Green Bay Packers on Sunday. And then we'll check in on the Packers' injury status, where their right tackle is banged up and coming back, but then doesn't practice on Friday. What does that mean? Same thing at receiver. A couple different guys that have been limited. Some might play, might not be 100% for Green Bay. We'll look at where their status is from a health standpoint. But there's no bigger X factor for the Chicago Bears coming into this game than the return of Kyler Gordon. He hasn't been a part of this defense for weeks. We haven't seen him against the Green Bay Packers at all this season. We haven't really seen him be any sort of regular contributor. He's played in 3 games all year, 1 start, and so we can't expect him to step back in and play at some Pro Bowl caliber level. There's going to be some rust, and he may even need to rotate a little bit, but that was a position of vulnerability for the Bears entering this week. And if they didn't have Kyler Gordon, they would be particularly screwed trying to match up with any of the Packers receivers in the slot. It's not so much that Green Bay's wide receivers are some, crazy effective slot weapons that you're just never going to be able to cover with anybody else, but that the Bears have had other injuries in the slot and have been on backup and third string players all season long and weren't in a very good position entering this week if Kyler Gordon weren't able to return, because fellow slot cornerback C.J. Gardner-Johnson suffered the concussion last week against the Detroit Lions, and he did not practice all week long for the Bears. So they would then be on their third choice slot cornerback if Kyler Gordon weren't available. That would probably end up being Nick McLeod, who is finally healthy this week on the injury report. He missed last week and maybe the week before that as well, but he's been, abysmal pretty much every time he's stepped on the field from a coverage standpoint. But now you've got Kyler Gordon practicing in a limited capacity on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then a full capacity on Thursday, all but confirming he will indeed be activated off of injured reserve and return to the lineup for the Bears. Meanwhile, C.J. Gardner-Johnson's already been ruled out, not practicing all week with a concussion, and Nick McLeod was a full participant all 3 days of practice, so he is available as probably your top backup slot cornerback. But even a limited and potentially rusty Kyler Gordon should still be a very clear upgrade over what the Bears have gotten out of Nick McLeod. And even when C.J. Gardner-Johnson was out there, he was struggling against the Green Bay Packers. They definitely have gone after him a bit in some of those previous Bears-Packers matchups this season, and they're going to go after Kyler Gordon and test out and see, just how healthy that, soft tissue situation is, because we saw C.J. Gardner-Johnson give up a touchdown in the most recent game against the Packers, and in that first game, I believe he was one of the guys who got smoked by Christian Watson for a big touchdown. In the first Bears-Packer game, they targeted the Bears slot cornerback 9 times, gave up 8 catches for 97 yards, a touchdown. Now, he also got an interception in that game, so there's definitely some give and take there, but Gordon represents a stabilizing force at the slot cornerback position to help just provide something more for a group that hasn't been playing particularly well lately. It hasn't felt like Dennis Allen has put them in a lot of great positions, just running a lot of man coverage the last few weeks, and especially blitzing with man coverage behind it the last few weeks. They have not been able to keep up with receivers in man-to-man coverage. And it's not to say that Kyler Gordon is some shutdown man-to-man coverage cornerback, but I think there's a lot more consistency from him than Nick McLeod for sure. And when healthy, he's a better player than C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It's just a matter of what level of Kyler Gordon we're actually going to get. But we know Gordon is physical in run defense as well, a great blitzer off of the edge, and he's someone who we spent a lot of time in the offseason talking about as a potential X factor for the season, because Dennis Allen talked about Kyler Gordon being a player that they saw with a lot of positional versatility. That yes, he's the slot cornerback, but they also think he could play outside cornerback if they need him to. They were experimenting with him playing some safety, both free and strong safety, and kind of moving him all around this Bears defense. They're not going to do that, I don't think, in this game, in his first game back from injury, but he presents, I think, a weapon defensively that Dennis Allen has more confidence in. And if he has more confidence in Kyler Gordon being out there, then maybe he can do a little bit more coverage-wise than he might have with backups in the slot. I'm curious to see if Green Bay makes that the priority, or if they look at how Jalen Johnson got cooked quite a bit last week against the Lions in man coverage, working over the middle of the field. Certainly, Nashawn Wright has been a total boom or bust cornerback at all times. So certainly, I think Matt LaFleur looks at this matchup and says he thinks he's got some options here, and it's up to Dennis Allen to not make those options so easy the way it felt like the first Packers game, especially when every time they blitz, Jordan Love found somebody in man coverage over and over again. And some of the same things happened in the second Packers game too, albeit without Jordan Love out there for the majority of that game. So the back and forth sort of coaching chess match is going to be there. But like, especially with some questions at the other cornerback spots, if you can get any kind of more stability in the slot, I will absolutely take that. I think it's worth noting that Jalen Johnson does not appear on the injury report anywhere. Maybe it's not worth saying, but like Nashawn Wright also not on the injury report. Josh Blackwell not on the injury report. Tyreek Stevenson not on the injury report. So presumably they are all as close to whatever 100% healthy can be at this stage of the season. And yet, Jalen Johnson doesn't look it. Certainly didn't look it against the Detroit Lions this last week. I mean, he just looked like a shell of himself, a little cooked, a little gassed, a little burned out. And so it's just this weird thing of like Ben Johnson insists they're getting what they want from Jalen Johnson. He's not on the injury report as though he's, still dealing with some kind of lingering soft tissue stuff. So should we then expect full expectation Jalen Johnson every week and then be really disappointed by the Jalen Johnson we've been seeing? We haven't gotten an official answer there. I mean, I think we all sort of suspect that the injury he was dealing with didn't just go away and that he's just fighting through it, but there's really no indication of that from anybody still other than what the eye test shows us. And maybe they do that. They don't put him on the injury report. They don't have a missed practice or anything so that other teams aren't as acutely aware that he's injured and maybe go after him a little bit more. But I still suspect that's the case. So maybe you'll have a slightly hobbled Jalen Johnson on the outside and a slightly hobbled Kyler Gordon on the inside. But boy, they're still better than the Bears' backup options at cornerback. Like the depth here is only so good. So I think all in all, it's very good news for this Bears defense that could have been in a lot worse shape if Gordon was still out, in addition to C.J. Gardner-Johnson being out. Same thing is true on offense, where for the first time in a month and a half, wide receiver Rome Odunze returning to the lineup and fully slated to play on Saturday. Will he be 100%? I probably think that's a little bit too much to expect, but a boost at the receiver position for sure. Plus some other guys in that same room getting healthier all at the same time. So we'll take a look at what his return means at wide receiver and for Caleb Williams next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Well, now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter, because Robinhood prediction markets change the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge, but now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commissions merchant and swap firm. Just as Kyler Gordon is going to be a huge boost to this Bears defense, Rome Odunze is going to be a huge boost to this Bears offense. How much, we don't know, but certainly adding your number one wide receiver back into the mix at any capacity is better than not having your number one wide receiver in the mix. Yes, the Bears have gotten by better on offense without Rome Odunze than they have on defense without Kyler Gordon. But in a playoff matchup against the Green Bay Packers, you need everything you can throw at them, especially when this Bears offense really got cold last week and couldn't get things rolling until the very end. And then it's a little classic story of too little, too late there. But Rome Odunze hadn't been on injured reserve, but just had been kind of shutting him down for the last few weeks of the season. This week at Bears practice on the injury report, Odunze was limited on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then a full participant on Thursday. So he doesn't even have like an injury designation for the game. He is in. Like, he's not questionable, he's not doubtful, he's not out. He is just fully in, locked in, good to go for Saturday. And I think it was easy to take for granted Odunze a little bit while he was gone because we got to see, Colston Loveland emerge into the playmaker that he has become. We got to see Luther Burden continue to blossom into this bigger and bigger role. But I think it's worth noting, like, Rome Odunze was the Bears' leading receiver up until like a week or two ago. Like, he still leads the team tied with 6 touchdowns. He has the most targets of any receiver on the Bears team this season, and he only played in 12 games. Like, it feels it feels like stupid or redundant to be like, hey, this is a really, really good player. Like, this is the best wide receiver on the Chicago Bears when healthy right now. Like, I think Luther Burden might be more dynamic in terms of speed and explosiveness, but like Odunze is and has been Caleb Williams' favorite target. Like, he is the best route runner and separator on the team. And I know we get frustrated sometimes with him not always holding on to some of the hard ones that, it's not always like quote unquote easy drops, but it's just sort of the difference between, are you a truly special number one wide receiver or are you just a really good player? And those kind of drops or failed completions are the kind of things that leave you down as a really, really good player. But hey, adding another, 600-yard receiver to this Bears offense is absolutely going to elevate everyone. And I think it's also worth noting, like, he leads the Bears in terms of yards per game this season, that he was on pace for 935 yards is what his per game average is. Over 12 games, he had 661 yards. It's 55 yards a game. Across 17 games would be 935 yards a season. If he had played in every game at the same pace, he wouldn't have been a 1,000-yard receiver, no, but he would have been the Bears' leading receiver by more than 200 yards. Like, even if he's not 100%, because the stress fracture he's dealing with in his foot, I'm no doctor, but it sounds like the kind of thing that wasn't just going to go away when you give him 5 games off. It'll get better and more tolerable, but, fully healed, I think not. And so it's a matter of like pain tolerance and re-injury risk. And obviously now in the playoffs, it's like, no, you got to go for it. But like leader in yards per reception, like downfield receiver. We think about Luther Burden as the speed threat that can take the top off, but like Odunze has been a very effective vertical receiver. He's not as fast as Luther Burden, sure, but like he gets big chunk plays. It's not always the 60-yard bombs, but it's the 20-yard dagger in route over the middle of the field, right? It's the Y crossing route, that's breaking over the middle, or deep out route to the sideline where he catches it and gets 2 feet in bounds. Like, Odunze is a super consistent weapon for Chicago, and even if he might not hold on to 1 or 2 here or there that are frustrating, he can make the other 6 or 7 catches for 60 or 70 yards in a game that really go a long way. And he's a weapon that Green Bay hasn't had to account for yet this season. Like, defensively, they will have to game plan differently for this matchup with the Bears than they have had to the previous couple of matchups. And that's a real advantage. It's not necessarily like the difference between winning and losing type of advantage, but like it's a real advantage that the Bears can throw some things at Green Bay that they haven't seen in the first couple of matchups there. It's just a player that they haven't had to cover to figure out, how to best implement him into the game plan. Like, you could pretty well count on, a good handful of catches for a good 40, 50 plus yards from Rome Odunze every time he steps on the field. We'll see health-wise how it goes, but like this is as healthy as the receiving core as a whole has been in quite some time, because you add in at practice this week, DJ Moore, we weren't worried about him missing the game, but limited on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then full participant on Thursday with a knee injury that he's just been dealing with for a little while. But it feels like you're kind of pushing through in the clear there, right? He's not limited by Thursday, the last day of practice. He is good to go. He's not 100%, I'm sure, on actual game day, but as healthy as he has been in recent weeks. And Ja'Day Walker had been dealing with the illness thing going around the team. And he's a full participant Wednesday and Thursday. Like, he'll be whatever the best version of him is right now. And Olamide Zaccheaus had been on the injury report in previous weeks. He's not on there at all. Like, this is whatever full strength can look like for this wide receiver core, in the now 19th week of playing in the season, where no one's truly like fully healthy, but everyone's varying degrees of healthy. Like, you're not going to have any injury sidelined wide receivers entering this game. Plus, you're fully healthy at tight end. Plus, you're fully healthy at running back with the guys you actually want to use in terms of Swift and Monungai. Like, this offense doesn't really have a glaring injury that concerns you coming into the game, right? Even Ozzie Trapillo, who missed the last game at left tackle with the quad injury, limited on the first 2 days, full participant on Thursday. Like, he's good to go. Everyone that you would reasonably want to expect to have ready for you in this game is. I mean, you even look at like injured reserve, like Braxton Jones could be ready to go. I guess Roshan Johnson's probably the only player who, sure, you might like to have for some depth, but you don't need him. Like, full strength Bears offense, good to go against Green Bay. Reduces some of the excuses for a slow start or a low scoring kind of like offensive struggle there. These guys got to be locked in and dialed in. It's like, oh, well, you're missing this guy, you're missing that guy. Like, nope, full strength. This is your group. This is the guys you've been working with all season, and reinforcements are here. Like, you got to ride this wave to a much better offensive performance this week than we saw the week before. And there's plenty of reason to think we can, right? I mean, this offense was absolutely clicking 2 weeks before that against the San Francisco 49ers. And we've seen them play the Packers twice now and start slow and finish strong. Like, at some point here, everything Jeff Hafley's going to throw at you. You should be able to, it shouldn't take you 2 quarters to kind of feel things out and make some adjustments, right? The Bears scored 3 points in the first half in the first game against the Packers and 0 points in the first half of the second game of the Packers. You need points earlier on. We talked about that yesterday on our crossover Thursday with Peter Bukowski from Locked On Packers. Like, the team that can get out of its own way and get into a rhythm more quickly is the team that's probably going to win the game. The good news is, even if the Bears don't, they're the team that is going to finish better. So if you can start better and you're going to finish well, like, that's the formula to a much more comfortable game that's much better for your blood pressure. Alas, I don't necessarily think we're going to see that, because the Packers, to their credit, I mean, they're getting a little healthier too. I know they've lost the last 4 games in a row and certainly have a lot of cleaning up to do and sloppiness that they need to improve. But they're also coming to this game without too many glaring injuries. I mean, obviously, Micah Parsons being out for the season, but in terms of like week-to-week guys, like, they're getting a couple guys back and feeling a little bit healthier this week than they have been as well. It's going to challenge the Bears in some different ways. So we'll take a look at what Chicago could be in store from Green Bay's side in terms of offensive line getting healthier, receiver, obviously Jordan Love returning from injury as well, next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The wildcard round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action with profit boost packs waiting for you inside the app. So each playoff game day, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple playoff boosts that you can apply to the bets you like most. You make your picks, then apply the profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So say you want to bet on this Bears-Packers game. Bears are 1.5-point home underdogs right now, but that line has been moving. You can bet on that, the money line, the spread, or any other bet, and apply your playoff pack boosts to get even more. So visit FanDuel.com, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack for every NFL playoff game day. The Locked On Bears podcast is also brought to you by Rocket Money. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. between subscriptions you forget about, bills that keep going up, and just trying to figure out where all your money actually goes every month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has the time to track down every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? Well, that's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. You don't have to worry about putting numbers in a spreadsheet or trying to log into all your different accounts and remember all the passwords. Like, this is all in one place in an easy to use Rocket Money app. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. One more time, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. The Bears aren't the only team in this matchup getting some reinforcements, although I think the returns of Odunze and Gordon are more impactful for the Chicago Bears than any of their non-quarterback returns. Of course, Jordan Love starting this week against the Bears is much bigger than anything. The Bears are getting back, and he missed their last few games. He hasn't played since that second Bears game when he suffered the concussion at the hands of Austin Booker. And so that's obviously like the caveat here. Any team who's getting a quarterback back is like, yes, okay. But like, we all knew that Jordan Love was ready to play last week against the Vikings, but it was a meaningless game for the Packers, so they sat him. Like, he was a healthy scratch last week. This is not a new injury return that was like, oh, surprise, surprise, this guy's ready to go this week. So I sort of putting that aside because that was already an assumption. Like, he wasn't really even like an injury report. He wasn't on the injury report this week for the Green Bay Packers. But in terms of guys who have been actually still hurt and may return now or have just been battling stuff and out there, Packers have a few things that are positive for them. The big one we started talking about on yesterday's podcast, right tackle Zach Tom has been dealing with both back and knee injuries. Now, on Tuesday, Matt LaFleur said, yes, Zach Tom's playing. We're fully expecting him to be back. He was a limited participant on Tuesday, limited participant on Wednesday, and then, on Thursday, Zach Tom goes from limited to DNP on Thursday. All of a sudden, the right tackle that everyone thought they were getting back, not practicing on Thursday. So could he be a question mark? Well, it turns out probably not. I was conferring with the aforementioned Peter Bukowski of Locked On Packers. Sounds like this was more like an off day kind of thing where it's like, hey, he's dealing with these injuries. He practiced a little bit. They saw he's good to go. So like, all right, take Thursday off so you can be as rested as possible to play on Saturday. So yes, fully expecting Zach Tom to play at right tackle, barring something popping up between now and then, a setback between now and then, or in pregame warmups. Like, they're planning on him playing still. So not a windfall for the Bears after all, but does make the Packers offensive line that much better. They've had plenty of injuries and had to move some different guys around. But certainly if I'm Dennis Allen and I'm trying to attack this Packers offensive line, I'm going to test just how healthy Zach Tom is, right? I'm going to send blitzes his way, stunts to his side of the offensive line, make him communicate, pass stuff off, and move in space a lot. Maybe you put Montez Sweat over there a little bit more than you might have normally, and move guys around and see how you can really kind of test that both back and I think knee injury is the second designation there for Zach Tom. Another guy offensively Green Bay is expecting to have back, wide receiver Dontavion Wicks suffered a concussion, didn't play against the Vikings, and only played 3 snaps against the Ravens, their second to last game. So he's played 3 snaps the last 2 weeks. Limited participant Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So never quite got to the full. But I think the fact that he was limited all 3 days and is listed as questionable with the concussion is a good sign for them that he'll play. Because typically, like with the Bears and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the guys who have a concussion and aren't going to play, just like don't practice all week. Or if they're going to play, they'll be limited all week and then good to go. So I expect Wicks to be added back into Green Bay's offense, but like he is not nearly the type of high impact player that say Rome Odunze is for the Chicago Bears. Dontavion Wicks has, 300-ish yards, 30 catches this year. He's averaging 23 yards per game. Like, not a bad player. And again, adds a weapon for them that they can rotate in with Watson and Dobbs and Reed and Matthew Golden. And so part of what makes Green Bay so hard to stop is that some of these guys are kind of interchangeable parts. You can't put too much attention on any one or else another one's going to beat you. So giving them another option just helps those guys stay fresh and gives them different situations they can put them in. But still, nothing to be shaken in your boots about. Same thing on defense for Green Bay. Their safety/slot defender, Javon Bullard, He hasn't missed any games, but he's been dealing with a knee injury. It's kept him limited all week, and he's been really limited like this whole time. He's not 100% out there, and he's good enough to play and still a quality player when he's out there. But again, I think from a Bears perspective, if I know their primary slot defender is dealing with a knee issue, I'm putting DJ Moore and Luther Burden and Colston Loveland in the slot as much as possible and really testing him. Run him vertical, run him across the field, make him use that knee over and over again and see how well it holds up, especially if they're going to run any man coverage with him, which they don't do a ton in Jeff Hafley's defense. It's a lot more conservative, a lot more two deep shells. They try and take away the big play deep downfield. And so if I'm Chicago, I'm running the ball as much as possible. They've not been a super strong run defense this season. I think it's been better in some of their recent games, but still, I think the Bears have the advantage in the ground game offensively. Control the clock, run the ball that way, make the slot defender who's injured or limited with the knee injury, make him step up and make a tackle in the running game. Make him step up and take on a block. Because that's one of the advantages of Rome Odunze, and we didn't spend enough time talking about. Rome Odunze is one of the best blocking wide receivers on the Chicago Bears. It's no intended offense to the likes of DJ Moore or Luther Burden, but Odunze is a huge upgrade there. Whether it's in the running game where they'll motion Odunze inside and use him as an insert blocker, almost like a tight end sometimes, or in the screen game. Such a big factor when you can pick up a block from a wide receiver that lets Luther Burden catch it, and instead of getting 3 yards, you give him 6 or 8 or 10, or he's liable to take it anytime. But if he can get that first block to free him loose into space, and Odunze is the guy I trust more than anyone else on this offense to set up those blocks. And assuming that the foot and everything is not going to impede that at all, that has the potential to be a sneaky underrated factor for how important the return of Rome Odunze can be in this Bears offense that I think can also be a weapon against the Packers, and especially even against someone like Bullard there, right? Where you get Odunze in motion, you can crack block Bullard, and then you could toss it to the running back outside of him, right? Just put the limited injured players in conflict positions that make their life difficult. I don't know that injuries on either side are going to, at least injuries coming into the game, right? These injury reports, is that going to swing the game fully all the way over in the Bears' favor? Maybe not, but it sure gives you that much more confidence heading into this matchup to feel like, yeah, this is reinforcements the Bears haven't had in their previous Packers games, whereas the Packers had Jordan Love to start both of their previous 2 games against the Bears. I believe they had Dontavian Wicks for both of those games. I believe they didn't have Zach Tom for one of them, if I'm not mistaken. So that can be an upgrade for Green Bay. But still, I think the Bears are throwing more new stuff, or have more new players, have more upgrade coming for this matchup that the Packers haven't faced, as opposed to the Packers getting more back. And I had it backwards. Zach Tom played in the first Bears-Packers game. He did not play in the second Bears-Packers game. So they're getting a boost too. Not as much of a boost as the Bears are from non-quarterback players returning that weren't there in the first matchups that these two teams played. So it's going to be exciting. I'm nervous. I imagine you probably are too. I think that's okay. It's the playoffs. I think you should be. Anything can happen. We've seen in the NFL playoffs, just about anything can happen in any given playoff game. We said it on yesterday's Crossover Thursday. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears won by 10. I wouldn't be totally shocked if the Bears lost by 10. I don't think it's going to be I don't think either team is going to, truly blow out the other team and have it be just a one-sided, boring game. I think that's about the only thing that I don't expect to happen. But anything in between, I think it could be anybody's ball game. If the Bears give their best effort out there, not best effort. If the Bears have their cleanest performance out there, they're winning this game. If the Bears are sloppy and messy and Green Bay isn't, Green Bay's winning this game. And these are 2 fairly evenly matched teams, despite it being a 2 versus a 7 seed. And this is what you play for. This is what you get in the playoffs for. These are the exciting games that make your stomach churn. But boy, this is the fun stuff that we sign up for. So let's absolutely enjoy it. And we're going to break it all down for you no matter what happens right here on the Locked On Bears podcast. We'll be live in the Locked On Bears YouTube channel for a Bears squad show Saturday night. After the game is done, we'll be live for a full hour, and then that comes back out in the audio podcast feeds. Then we'll break everything down on Monday, the good and the bad, right here on Locked On Bears. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, because that's going to be the best way to keep up with all of our daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And if you are an everydayer that tunes in every day, thank you so much. I mean, you're really the core people we do this for. And if you want to take your everyday listening to the next level, you can get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Bears that's compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. Plus, you'll also get access to a Locked On Everydayers Club Discord with a Locked On Bears group chat exclusively for listeners of the show. If you want to check it out, go to lockedonbears.supercast.com to join the Everydayers Club and get your ad-free listening. Or you can keep tuning in however you are right now for free. We're never going behind a paywall or hiding or anything like that. This is just an option to take it to the next level because no matter how you tune into Locked On Bears, thank you. And you'll be sure each time you're getting another opportunity to bear down.